Humberlievable. Are you looking for a no-nonsense property and business podcast? Our mission is to provide jam-packed content straight to your ears, where we can add value and unpick the fluff in the industry. If this sounds like a bit of you, then strap in and hold tight for an episode with Heidi and Dan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Humberlievable episode on the podcast today. So we've got Dan and I talking about something that's really important to both of us. We're going to talk about leaving full-time work and going into full-time property, what that looks like for both of us, and exploring that. So the reason we're doing this podcast is Dan has entered back into the world of full-time employment, and I'm about to embark on leaving full-time employment. So do you want to start, Dan? Do you want to give us a little bit of background about what that looked like for you?
Yeah, I'll give a bit of an overview. So basically all I ever wanted really, I guess, was to, work on my own terms and be my own boss and all that sort of stuff. But I guess when I had a full-time job, my aim was to get out, not because I disliked my job. I just, I guess got sucked into the property thing, that everything's amazing and we can do fantastic things doing property full time. And at a point I was sourcing a lot, doing well, building a portfolio quite quickly, buy to lets, buy refurbished finance, all money out, going on to the next one, some flips, all of this. But it got to the point where our business partner said, you've done X amount in such a short space of time whilst you're working. Imagine what you can do in if you do it full time. Sorry, imagine what you could do if you do it full time. And I guess in hindsight, there's various reasons why I went back to work. I did enjoy doing property full time. One of the main reasons was setting up the lettings business, running the lettings business. And I'm not going to go into absolutely minutiae detail on absolutely every single thing, but you probably know, like, managing properties takes up a lot of time. So doing the lettings business actually took me away really from what I love doing, which is the sales side of things, the sourcing, the buy, refurbish, refinance, and building the portfolio. So although I was growing the lettings business, it was taking on quite a few properties and growing that, and it was doing well. Ultimately, I didn't love what I was doing, and that took me away.
What was your job before?
So I worked in a commercial team on the ports, so across the Humber's 4 ports, and it was just basically working with a lot of the commercial managers there and having my own client base, import, export, winning commercial agreements for various people, that companies that needed to bring in commodities, depending what they are, whether it's vehicles, whether it's fertilizer, whether it's whatever, all the way through from the commercial agreement into handling the goods and storing it on the port. Before that, I was a key account manager, so I looked after national and global companies, so basically in the PPE sector, so supplying PPE, but supporting them on their business strategy. So if they want to achieve X, Y, Z, if it's a supply consolidation, if it's a rationalization, standardization across sites, I would help put this strategy together with them and deliver that through the products and the solutions that we had at that company.
I can see why you smash the shit out of property if you've got them skills, to be fair.
Yeah, and I've got good people skills, good at selling, I'm good at identifying opportunities, I'm good at closing opportunities. But the thing is, I would say, because I was in a job and I wanted to get out so bad, I would work so hard in the property side of things. I would be up early, I'd do an hour and a half in the morning, I'd work till 10 o'clock at night, and then obviously during the day I'd do my day job. And because I wanted to get out so bad, and when I got out, I didn't work them same hours, which is a good thing because I had a young family and stuff. But long story short, doing the lettings, like I say, very time consuming. I took on, like I said, the Airbnb in the last episode. That wasn't as profitable as it could be. I put a lot of new costs through the business. I had an income, but it was nowhere near what I used to be on. Then the cost of living crisis hit, everything shot up. So we literally got married, moved house, had our second child, all by September 21. I went full-time in October 21.
So how long did it take you from dabbling in property, you set up a company, to going full-time? How long did that take?
So I set up a company in April 2019. I had my first daughter August 2019, but I didn't really start fully. It was more like learning stuff until Jan 2020. And then Jan 2020, I went full time in October 21.
Wow.
But yeah, I did, because I was gifted an opportunity and had an income through it was a paid income, but to run the business type thing.
Yeah.
Did the income from all of the properties sustain my living, all the business expenses, all of, like the operating costs, X, Y, Z? No, it didn't. We use money from flip profit to put into lettings. We use money from flip profit to do stuff. So the money was moving around. But then with everything, it did get to a point, like my wife was on maternity, and it got to a financial point. There's many reasons. We decided to sell the lettings because I didn't enjoy it and didn't want to do it anymore, blah, blah, blah. But then because that was my income and we sold the lettings, the only way for me to supplement everything else was to go back into work. But I'm back into something I really enjoy. So I'm not bothered by it. But will there be a time in the future where I have lots of property that's paying me an income that I don't have to touch, and I'm using my salary to pay my costs, and that's compounding over time, and I'm just going to buy? Yeah. Do I see it as a failure? No, because it's a massive learning curve. I know where I would need to be to do it again.
Yeah.
Are we happier? Less pressure, less stress? Yeah. So, there was various reasons. I'd say selling the lettings, which I got an income from, then that going, so I had no income. So where else to get an income is to go back to work. Like I said, I enjoy what I do now. I still have properties on the side. We're still doing the development. I still need to redo my goals of what's next for property and things like that. But, in a short, brief summary, that's what happened. So I enjoyed the time. If I just solely did it on sourcing and growing our portfolio, could it be a different story? Maybe.
I think it's really important that you said you didn't enjoy lettings, because it takes a fucking person to enjoy lettings. Do you know what I mean? Because it's horrible. Yeah. But you've got to enjoy it, because what's the point in quitting a job to do something you don't actually even like? So I think it's really valuable that you've said you've got to enjoy it. But for me, so I'm on the flip side of it. I've been replacing my income for 2 years, and I've been building up my business for 2 years, and I've replaced my income, took on a load of deals, actually gave 4 back because I hated them, took on some more, stabilized my business, grew it, and I've listened to loads of advice and guidance over the past few years, which I hope for fucking dear God I've implemented, and I've implemented well. But what advice do you have for me or anybody else going, I'm going to quit my job and get into property?
I guess whatever you think you might need, double it.
Okay, I'm staying.
Yeah. The reason I say that as well is, if you have in my case, I had a job in disposable income. I used to, when the first child was born, just put money into a bank account. Liv could just go, do all the baby classes, do stuff. And when I took a drop in the salary, when the cost of living crisis hit and bills, like my bills went up hundreds. Council tax, because we moved, it got rebanded from a C to an E.
Oh my God.
Then, was it C to an E? I think so. And then the energy bills went from 66 quid a month to 230 quid a month. Then, so the council tax jumped. And then at this point, we just spent obviously a lot of money on the wedding. I saved up and paid for the wedding. We just bought a house. The mortgage doubled.
Yeah.
All of these things happened, which I budgeted for as we were, but I didn't budget for where's the contingency coming from?
Yeah. That's so much to happen all at once as well.
It did. And don't get me wrong, it put a bit of strain on, because I guess Liv was probably a bit ostracized, because the money that I used to just throw into a bank account, don't get me wrong, she's still got 6 months full pay, and all that. But like I said, because everything shot up, it eroded that budgeted fund money. And once the fund money's gone, it's just bill money. And that's not fun.
That isn't fun. And like that, so I'll just elaborate a little bit on how I've sort of done it. So like, I replaced my income, inverted commas, in 10 months. But what then I didn't take into account is voids, maintenance, insurance, actual overheads. So I replaced my tax, that sort of thing. So I replaced my income in 10 months. And then you'll see on Facebook, oh, I've replaced my income, I'm going to leave my job. And somebody on Facebook did that after 6 months. And I was like, are you fucking mental? You've not seen a year cycle of a HMO or a year cycle of an SA, winter, summer months, etc. You've not done a tax year. You've not done, a year's worth of accounts and that sort of thing to see if you're mortgageable and stuff. And you've not had those risks. I've recently found, after being only 2 years in business, tenants like to move out in summer. That shit me up. I was like, oh, I've got 8 voids. I filled them quickly, don't get me wrong. But had I been reliant upon that money to feed my kids, that would have been fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So it's making sure you've got your overheads and extras as well. I've been saving up for insurance for next year.
Yeah, I'd always say as well, like, I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was a similar question and someone's like, have 12 months in your bank account of costs. So, for example, if something happened today, you can afford to live for a year purely on them savings.
Yeah.
And that's all your bills, everything, and that bit of fun money. So have a contingency.
I've done something similar with that. So I spent the first year paying off my credit card. I had a credit card because I got into property and I paid for training, to be transparent, paid for training, paid for a mastermind, paid for my Mac, paid for a website, that sort of thing. So I spent the first year paying that off. I think it was 20 grand actually. And then I've been saving up for insurances, repairs. I think I've got between 5 and 6 months of contingency. I think I put a post out on Facebook last year and it said what contingency should I have? And someone said 2 months, 4 months, 10 months, a year or whatever. And then someone asked me the question, if it all goes tits up, how quickly can you get another job? And I was like, well, quite quickly, yeah, because of my skills and stuff. And they went, use that as a backup then. Don't be ashamed to go out and get another job.
At first I thought, I failed and I probably buried my head in the sand for a few months, to be honest. And it was my wife was like, Dan, have you considered going back to work?
Yeah.
And then I was like, but does that mean I failed?
Yeah.
And that was an internal debate that I had. And I probably left it a bit longer than I should have done, which caused a bit more stress. But like now, gone back to work in a job I enjoy, cut down costs a lot, overheads a lot. So in terms of disposable money, I probably tripled my disposable by going back to work. And
that's awesome. Can I come get a job with you?
Yeah. I just need to hit some bonus and then I'll obviously have a lot more. But I'm only 4 months in, not even 4 months in, I don't think. No, August I'll be 4 months in.
That's amazing.
But that's given me a different outlook. So yeah, I want to have the reason I got into property was so that my kids didn't have to worry about anything. I could award them opportunities that they wanted. But me going property full time was probably at that time, you could deem it as a bit of a selfish thing that I wanted to do. But did I think of everyone around me? Because were they as happy as I wanted them to be? Probably not. For a period, obviously, my wife's on maternity. We had another kid. Like, there's obviously loads of things in the pressure cooker. But for me, it's my kids that I want to have a lot of opportunity and a lot of wealth. So the property stuff is more for them. So do I mind working for the next 10, 15 years whilst accumulating a portfolio that I could hand down when I go? No.
The thing is as well is
and it'll compound quicker.
Yeah, it'll compound quicker, but also with the age thing, because like I said to you, I think I said something dead patronising to you one day, like, well, you're only 30, Dan. And I was like, well, I'm 33, you fucking pleb. So like, I'm not much older than you. But even if we did this for 15 years, we're still in our 40s. We're not even, it's nothing, is it?
No.
30 years.
And
60.
you might still have another 30 to 35 years on top of that.
Exactly. So like, why rush the first couple of years? Like, do you think, and I've seen it with my mates, leaving your job too early, do you think that's a thing that's glamorized?
It's glamorized, yeah, because it's this fantastic thing. But don't get me wrong, if I knew what I knew now, and I was able to do what I've done in the last 4 or 5 years. When I was 18, single, living with my parents, no
Yeah.
kids, no wife, no mortgage. Fucking hell, yeah, I wouldn't be working at 30, believe me.
Yeah.
However, I probably done it at the time where I had the most responsibility I've ever had.
Mm.
And I wouldn't say I jumped early because we did. I was going to use the word survived. You shouldn't
Yeah.
survive. You should thrive. We didn't
Yeah.
thrive, but we always paid everything on time. You know, we never missed payments. We still had money to do some stuff, just
Yeah.
not as much as we could have had.
Yeah.
Money's not the be all and end all, but does that cause more stress and more pressures? Yes. If the more you have, can you do more things and be happier? Yes, to an extent. There's various factors that can, you know, you can have all the money in the world and be miserable. But what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
the situation I was in, if I had more money, would it have been different? Yeah.
I
So
think
did I jump early? You could say that, but if I, because what I budgeted, what I worked out with the income I had, if the cost of living crisis never occurred, would it have been a different story? Yes. But there's so many factors that change it. Like, what if I didn't do the lettings and just built the portfolio? Could I have double, triple in the portfolio now? Like, there's so many factors that you have to take into consideration. And that was probably down to me prioritizing different things because I thought if I grow the lettings, we can get someone in to manage it. But then if I look at if I sourced 100 properties and took sourcing fees from them of 3K, 4K each, then obviously split with my business partner, Jocelyn, and then put all of them into my lettings. What I've done now is secured a huge income injection as well as building the lettings instead of just focusing on the lettings and letting the other stuff slide.
Yeah, that's really interesting to be fair,
So
because
hindsight's an amazing thing, but you know, I think what you've done is good. You've budgeted it, and you know you've not taken the decision lightly. Neither did I. I didn't take it lightly. Just a lot of things happen. So my advice is make sure you have plan B, plan C, plan D. A lot of people say if you have plan B and plan C, you know you're going to fail plan A. But all I would just say is, you know, you've got kids and a husband, just contingency.
yeah, exactly. And it's I know I'll make it work because I'm too fucking stubborn. But the thing is, it's do I want to make it work with an abundance of stress and anxiety? No, not really. So that's why I've kind of come up with a plan, but also I'm not precious if I have to go back to work or I do like care work. I used to be a care worker. As long as I can feed the kids and they don't have to sacrifice their activities, that's all I'm bothered about, really.
I said to my wife, worst case scenario, I said I'd fucking work this shift, this shift, this job, this job, this job until I like absolutely got to a point where I am now. Like I was lucky that I got this job, similar to doing what I've done before. Get a company car, good salary, can get bonus if I hit target. Like I said, I'm only 3 and a bit months in. I've inherited a portfolio. It's not at 100%, but if I get 100% revenue, you know, bonus can be quite lucrative. So I'm happy.
That's
And
awesome.
I think that's the key thing.
So let's wrap it up with some key tips then for people doing this. What would you say your first one is?
Like I said, contingency. Have a contingency and have a plan. Like, when has a plan ever gone 100% right? I've had business plans that we've had to change because we've exceeded them. We've had to pivot. Macro external factors occur. Political, you know, if you do a pestle analysis, political, economical, social, technological, environmental, and
Quite clever, Daniel.
I'm extremely smart. Don't let me fool you. No, but generally, there's so many things that you have to take into consideration because did we think the base rate was going to be 5% 2 years ago when we was getting fucking 2% mortgages? No. So what does that do to your cash flow if you're paying mortgages and you've got to refix every single thing in your portfolio? Does that go from £2,000 a month down to £1,000 now? Can you live on that grand? You know, so I'm not trying to like scare people because it could go the other way. It could go from 7% and you're fine. It drops to 2%. You're fucking laughing.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying contingency and, you know, don't sacrifice your happiness. And if, like I said, I buried my head in the sand for a couple of months probably, and I wish I didn't. I would lose your ego. I don't know if you have an ego, I do, but I've learned to now drop my ego more than I used to.
Drop your ego. No, I don't. I'm fucking not bothered if I used to be a care worker. I've worked in Primark. Do you know what I mean? I'm not asked. I'm a bit of a Del boy, really. So me.
What tips do you have then for? Because you're in that position, what tip do you have for other people doing it? Because you're going through this at the minute.
Yeah, I could have left my job twice, and my gut feeling was it's not the right time. So don't just replace your income and then fuck it off. Make sure you've covered all of your business overheads and all of your personal expenditure, and then a bit more. Make sure you've done at least 1 year in property, unless you've got a partner that's going to subsidise you.
Well, that's it. Yeah, if someone's earning loads of income and you can do it and you're fine on their income, fine.
Exactly. You might be subsidised with massive redundancy pay, a partner, living at home with your parents, whatever it is. Make sure your business overheads are covered. I got a van. I put a 600 quid a month van in my overheads before I even thought about quitting my job because I wanted a van. So overheads are covered, your personal stuff's covered, and a bit more. Make sure you've got at least a year in the bag, if not more, 2 years, just of like that cycle.
Go through a good couple of cycles, isn't it?
Yeah, do a couple of good cycles. Like for me, because I've de-risked my portfolio as well now. If the HMOs, people leave HMOs in summer, SA is the best time in summer. HMOs are the best time in winter. SA
diversification. Don't put your eggs in one basket.
Could have just said diversification. So you've said contingency plan, lose your ego, cover all of your costs, and diversification.
And don't sacrifice your happiness.
Don't sacrifice. Oh, God, that's good. That we've wrapped that up beautifully.
Brilliant. Sounds like a good way to end.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. So, closing remarks then, if anyone does want to get out and, touch base with me and learn from my experience, or if you've got some questions and you want to ask me about it, then feel free. And likewise to Heidi, who's looking to take the jump, if you're sort of in that same mindset and you want to sort of touch base, then reach out to us. Our details are on the podcast show notes as well. So you can reach us through socials or drop us an email on humberlievableproperty@gmail.com. I'm hoping I'm getting this right, by the way, because we'll get fucking loads of emails sent in and we'll not respond to one. So if you don't get a response, it's because I've given you the wrong one. We'll put it in the notes. So thanks for listening. Hopefully you've gained some insight from this. Like I said, on every single episode, and I'm going to continue to say is please subscribe and share. We want to give as much value as we can. So we also welcome your feedback. Thanks for listening.
Unbelievable. Thank you for joining us this week. We hope we added value to your day. Stay tuned and see you next time for another Humberlievable episode. See you next time.